All right, Cleopatra program. So just as a stimulus pattern, the Cleopatra program is going to be kind of like a hypertrophy, kind of branching into strength a little bit. The reason I'm obsessed with this pyramid superset format is if we really think through what we're trying to do every time that we're trying to like stimulate hypertrophy, when we're trying to get people stronger, there's a combination of two things that we've talked about before, right? We want metabolic accumulation, so we want general accumulation of fatigue in the muscle, but we also want to put a heavy stretch on the muscle. That's that mechanical tension portion. This is a really interesting way for us to combine both into the same workout without us having to go through, okay, we're going to do sets of 5 for 4 sets here, and then we're going to do our isolated hypertrophy work afterwards. It's really doubling down on simple format, having a lot of compound exercises with just a little dose of isolation in there. I think it's going to be killer. We have been very sore from the ones that we've tried. We've tested all these and we were really sore from them. So I think it's going to be a high soreness program, which the members tend to like. But it's also going to be a pretty safe program. If we think about how we go through this, let's just take day 1 as an example. And we talk about conventional deadlift. Now, if I'm hitting 15 reps on a conventional deadlift and then I'm hitting 10 reps on a deadlift, by the time I get to 5, my body is so warmed up that our injury risk is super low. And so we definitely want to push people to try something really heavy because we know their bodies are going to be prepared. It's not like when we say we're going to do a 5x5 and we come straight off the warm up and nobody has done enough reps to really feel good for it. They're going to feel very good for it, maybe even tired by the time they get to it. Okay, so then as you go up the chain, we always want to encourage people to try to beat their previous, okay? So whatever I did for 15 on the way down the pyramid, I want to go ahead and try to beat that for my last set of 15. Same thing for 10. But 5 really needs to be pushed as like this peak weight. But we'll come back to that when we explain it. So the program is mostly hypertrophy, I would consider it, but we're diving a little bit into preparing the body for some more strength stuff in the next program. And the reason this is more hypertrophy is it's not as much isolation as what we're doing now with like the giant sets and everything, but it's a really high volume on the compound list. So we're sticking with some really heavy stuff, but we're doing a lot of volume on it. 5 sets on everything. Then we're also just getting that dose of the low rep and the high rep work. We're still looking for specific muscle fatigue accumulation here. You're also going to get more general fatigue, I think, than what this program is. It's going to be more taxing on people to do these things for heavy sets. And our key coaching points are still push until failure, especially when we're talking about our higher rep ranges, our 15s and our 10s. We're trying to send the signal to the muscle. We really want to coach people to make sure that they're loading properly. I was explaining to the classes today that when we're loading, especially for isolation exercises like something like the lat push down or the cable crunch that we've been doing, that there's a weight that you can do and you can do it with good form, and there's a weight just below that where you actually feel the muscle squeezing better. That's kind of where we want people to end up on a lot of this stuff, and we know it when we see it, right? Somebody's loading up too heavy, their form's just starting to get tweaked a little bit, and you can kind of see that they're probably not feeling a full squeeze. If we use a landmine row as an example, you can tell when somebody's just starting to like kind of throw it and row it, and they're probably not really feeling the squeeze of the shoulder blades together. And so if you guys can be really strict with people on that, I think they're going to get the most out of this program. Same things. Control the weight, stretch and squeeze, feel the muscle, all those good things. We're going to start out this program with pre-fatigues. And so instead of doing primers where we're doing 2 back-to-back things, because I felt like that was kind of messy and complicated in both formats that we did it. It felt unnecessary when we split up the primers in the first 2 weeks of this program. It felt like it was kind of like, why are we doing so much randomized work at the beginning of these last 2 weeks? So now we're just going to do 2 exercises, one for the upper, one for the lower, high reps, but a little bit more compound, a little bit more weighted than we've done in the past. So if we look across the board on our deadlift and our row day, we're going to be hitting a plated deadlift to overhead for 30 reps, and we're going to hit a single arm row for 25 each side. I think this is going to save time. I think everybody's going to feel more prepared for their workout as well. And then we'll get to these as we go through days 1, 2, and 3. Let's see here. So on that pre-fatigue, it's the same concept as our primers. Drive blood into the target muscles. It's about activation, not exhaustion, but they should get pretty tired when they're doing this. It's kind of like we're making sure that they're getting more work than just their superset or their pyramids in. And then I have in here superset, but that was a wrong thing. Ignore that. They're not going to superset those. They're just going to do 1 set on each of them. Okay, so let's get right into it. Day 1, somebody want to pop up and start demoing some of these? If we have multiple people floating, then we can get these demos done really quickly. Don't everybody jump up at once. Plate deadlift overhead, and if somebody else can get ready for single arm row. So like I said, these are just our pre-fatigue. We can still encourage people to go decently heavy on these for the plate deadlift to overhead, just making sure that they're not turning this into a squat. You can just pick up this 25 here, Taylor. What's up? Is it a little too light for you, you said? She's so strong. So strong. So making sure that it's a hinge. The biggest thing though on this exercise is just making sure that people aren't just throwing the weight over their head and arching back. So go ahead and hit a few reps for us. She's getting that good hinge at the top. It's almost like she wants to arch her chest towards the ground at the bottom. And then when she goes overhead, we're always looking to make sure that people aren't arching too much in the lower back. And it's more of a press to the ceiling where it's almost like my rib cage is going down as my hands go up, as opposed to arching the rib cage with the hands, because that's going to cue them to arch their back, which is only going to carry over into their presses later in the week. Then we got the single arm row. Likely we'll just do this in space so that we don't have to set up any equipment. So you just go split stance on this. Yep, just split stance. She can support her other arm on her leg here. And then just looking for those good squeezes. This is probably one where we don't necessarily need to cue him to go back to the hip too much, but we probably want to give the cue of there's a fist distance between the rib cage and the arm here. So it's more of like a 45-degree pull here. Just really getting good shoulder blade retraction is probably more important than going super heavy on that. So that's going to be 25 each arm. That's going to take them a little while, so they shouldn't do too heavy of weight because they're just going to need to pump it out and get on with their life. Conventional deadlift. Conventional deadlift on these pyramid sets, the way this pyramid set's going to work is, so on conventional, she's going to run the pyramid. But then in between each set, so she does 15 reps on the deadlift, immediately goes over and does 10 reps on each side on banded donkey kick. Can somebody pop up and do banded donkey kick since she's doing deadlift? What's up?
That's almost like superset.
Yeah, it's going to superset it. Can somebody pop up and do banded donkey kick while she's doing the conventional deadlift? You can have the next ones, Alex. All right, so conventional deadlift, much more narrow stance. I'm going to over-explain this since Lou hasn't had this stuff before. Much more narrow stance than almost a regular deadlift just because the kettlebells, they get too wide. You ever carry your groceries like this out to the side and it feels like you're going to yank your back? 20 bags. Yeah. I threw my back out doing that one time. I tried to turn to carry my things up the stairs and I threw my back out. Just because as you widen out too far with the kettlebells or with bags of groceries, you're going to hurt your back. So karate chopping those hips back, squatting down the rest of the way. We're always talking about the deadlift being a press through the floor, right? So she's trying to drive her upper back up to the ceiling. We also really like to talk about scooping the hips to the bells early, okay? The thing we all want to avoid is kind of what we call that stripper squat, but that's keeping the hips too tall, or if they're coming out of the floor, they're going hips up and then stripper squatting up with it. And so if you can get people to press through the floor with their feet and get their glutes through early, then it's always going to keep their back super, super safe. Obviously, as we get to the heavier exercises, we want to start cueing them for some of our strength cues. So that's going to be pulling the shoulders down away from your ears, getting those lats locked in so that we don't see those kettlebells when they're heavy start floating out in front of them. Because if it starts pulling here and you start rounding your back, that's when it's a recipe for injury, right? So always thinking shoulders back and down when we're doing that. The thing that we have not solved for this is that conventional deadlift at 5 reps, we just simply have a lot of men that the weights aren't heavy enough for this. I went to look at the 176 and the 204 kettlebells. I just don't think that it's worth purchasing those. And so if we think that we need heavier weights for the conventional deadlift, I think I'm fine with us getting the trap bar set up for some of those people who can do over 315 on the, or over whatever that is, 300 on the conventional deadlift. Cool? Banded donkey kick. So we'll do, after I do my set of 15, I'll come over and I'll do 10 reps each side of the banded donkey kick. The isolation ones, you want to be super specific with them on, especially this one, because it's really easy. There's a lot of moving parts here. Go ahead and do a couple reps for me, Matresa. So you'll notice that she's driving back. The thing that we want to watch is this lower back. If she starts arching too much, go ahead and do a couple crappy ones where you really arch to the floor. So if she starts arching to her floor too much, she might still feel it in her glute, but she's not getting that good stretch on the way back. And so you want to drive the knee far this way, and then she's always thinking like I'm kicking with my heel. And so if you see people pressing with the toe too much, they're just not going to feel it in their glute. So we think rib cage in and push with the heel, and that's when they're going to feel a nice squeeze in that butt. And the goal is for them to start kind of mounting a little bit of fatigue in the glutes specifically when they go back to their conventional deadlift. So it should be easier for them, if we're pairing this properly, for them to feel their glutes when they're doing their deadlift, which is always something we want them to feel, right? Cool. Who wants to hit some landmine row? Alex, you want to pop in on this? Landmine row. Oh, we need a V grip. I think they're underneath there. Landmine row and easy bar curl. Lou jumps in for the curls, huh? Oh. Same thing here, 15, 10, 5, 10, 15. Now, after we did this program, or we did this test workout for Gap Week, did you guys all do that or not? So this was the one we tested during Gap Week, and I think it was on a Wednesday. The combination of the deadlift with the landmine row with the pyramid supersets, my traps, I think all of our traps, we were complaining about it, were just like so freaking wrecked. just because we're getting that spread with the landmine row every single time that we don't get as well on some row exercises. And then you're going over and you're going to do a heavy deadlift where you're trying to drive off the ground and you're getting that same stretch through the traps. And so it's a very high soreness program. So for the landmine row, he's going to make sure to get that V grip. And I like it when you get it right up on the collar if you can, just so it doesn't slide around. He's keeping it super close to his hips, right? So he's right up on top of that sucker, so when he goes down to the RDL, it's the same thing we were coaching on our barbell row, right? He wants to stretch so he gets this nice spread of the shoulder blades, and then he wants to retract. The thing I was talking to Matresa about earlier, and I think it's good for us to cue this for our rows, is there are some people that they get all of their contraction in their back from a heavy arch, so they round and then they arch. But if you're arching too much, what you're doing is you're artificially shortening just by like shortening your spinal erector. So you're getting spinal extension and you feel like your back's squeezing as opposed to, well, I mean, what muscles are we really trying to hit here? Say it again. Lats, yeah, lats for sure. We're definitely trying to hit some rhomboids and stuff, all those kind of scapular retractors. And if we're doing that, we kind of want to think, I want to lock my rib cage into one place. This is what we talked about in Coach's Education a little bit, if you go back to that video. I want to lock my rib cage into place so I actually get a full stretch and a full squeeze without letting my back arch into a cheat position. And so I think if you lock your rib cage down and you think lock it into your hips, and then you focus on squeezing back, over time you actually feel your lats better doing that. It's weird at first, but I started doing it and it helped me a lot with feeling my back muscles. That's going to be paired with 10 reps on our easy bar curl. So some of these are not super high reps, so we have to make sure that they're using adequate enough weight. It shouldn't be come over here, do 10 reps when you could have done 20, and then go about your business. Maybe they're not going a full failure on all 5 sets of this, but they should feel like maybe they could have done 12 and they stopped at 10, right? So easy bar curl, we're gonna have that same position that we were doing in this program. And so we're just thinking keeping the shoulders back and then squeezing into position as much as possible. If you guys have taken the classes that I'm coaching, I always cue them on. If I see the elbows come forward, I just don't trust it. There are some people who can go strict and go elbows squeeze and then pull their elbows forward. And if you try that with this, you can squeeze that. And then when you bring the elbows forward very slowly at the end, you actually get a better bicep contraction. That's why you'll see bodybuilders do that because it's connected to the shoulder here. But for most people that are in classes, if I see the elbow forward, it just means they threw it from the bottom with their shoulder muscles. And so we'd rather see them squeeze and not move the elbow. Any questions on those? What's up? Yeah, I think that was the most confusing thing for people in this program when we use the easy bar is people just got into super weird grip patterns because we hadn't used it and we weren't maybe doing the best job of saying exactly where to grip it. And so on this one, I want everybody in this position. It's also just better for their wrist position. Most people feel safer and healthier in their wrists in this position than even if they were to come in here and do this. There's going to be plenty of people that are fine here. The thing that I don't like about the narrow is like, then everybody's going to round their shoulders forward, and we already have people with this posture. If you're a bodybuilder, if you're going to go to the Arnold Classic, maybe there's a reason for us to do that, but Gen Pop, we're not going to do it. Okay, sweet, day 2. ATG split squat. Somebody want to show that? Alex, you're up. ATG split squat, and then if anybody wants to show it, I'll do the kettlebell windmill. You don't need to even do it with weight right now. So guys, you can weight this, but the ATG split squat, the whole goal of this is knee over toe action, right? So if he gets set up, he's gonna be in that split stance, and then from this position, his whole goal is to translate forward, and as a byproduct of going forward, he goes down. So it's not that he's trying to drop himself into position by dropping the knee down, he's going knee over toe as much as possible. And so that's what we really want to see. Some people are going to be totally crap at this, and that's okay. What they can do is either they can put the wolf wedge under their front foot, and that'll allow them to go more knee over toe, or they can even just elevate it a little bit, and that'll allow them to go more knee over toe. And so they'll just be going in and out. It'll feel more like a forward back movement if they're doing it right, and you can load it up. This one should feel like if people are saying like this hurts my knees, that's a good thing. We're trying, just like when we did the Nordic quad extension, we're actually trying to get them to load their knees specifically, get them to stretch out their knees and get more knee over toe action, which is probably the number one thing that goes out the window for adults is like we get bad ankle dorsiflexion and then all of a sudden we don't feel like we can be athletic, we hurt when we go downstairs, all that good stuff. The second exercise is that kettlebell windmill. Let's go over this one. Actually, this one I want you guys all to pop up and do it with me because we don't do it very often. And it's pretty specific, and there's a lot of people that honestly are junk at this. And that's totally fine. We just need to know how to help them with it. Junk in your trunk. All right, so go moderate weight for this, and then I'll show you a couple different variations of it. So here's how I would like us to teach everybody to set up for the windmill is, okay, if I get that kettlebell and I get it overhead, so nice locked out overhead position. Now I'm gonna set up with my feet shoulder width apart, I am going to point my opposite foot out. All right, so point opposite foot out. My legs are still completely locked out and straight. I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to place it on the inside of that knee, inside of that thigh. This is now the knee that is okay to bend. And the other one, yes. And the other one, this is going on YouTube, Alex. And then the other one, we're going to push the hips back. So it's almost like an RDL. But the whole goal here is for us to take our shoulder blade into rotation, almost tricking it to go there. So now I'm going to push my hips back. Eyes always stay up on the kettlebell. Push my hips back. I'm going to rotate. I'm just creeping my hand down my thigh here and going down and touching my ankle. And then I'm coming right back up, pushing straight up overhead the entire time. So go ahead and do a few reps and feel how you can allow your shoulder to retract and rotate. And that's where you're going to really get the warm up in the shoulder. Now, there are some people that just have either poor enough shoulder range of motion, or sometimes it's coming from the lower back. Go ahead and set your kettlebells down. Where they just are completely not locked out, or as soon as they go back, it starts to crash in like this. Now we're putting the shoulder in dangerous positions. And so what you want them to do is they can go no weight if they need to, and they can just go body weight like this. And then what they can do is take that kettlebell and they can go like this. All right, but the only way to fix that is just to go lower load, because you're just not going to get the shoulder to open up more by putting more load on it. Make sense? So encourage people to use some weight on that, because otherwise they're just not going to feel it as well. But when people really have trouble with it, then we can go no weight. Any questions on that? Nope. So that one's going to take a lot of coaching. Please try to make people perfect on both of those, the ATG split squat and the kettlebell windmill. Okay. One kettlebell deficit reverse lunge. All right, this day effed us up when we tested. You tested this, didn't you? Yes. So we'll have 45-pound plates on the floor. We're going single kettlebell, just like we've gone single kettlebell step-ups in the past. The reason I'm such a big fan of single kettlebell work for single leg work now, and I didn't used to be like a year or two ago, is as I've been training with the torn ACL, and just as I've seen like people move in our gym, I find that double kettlebell with a lot of this stuff locks our hips into a straightforward position, doesn't allow them to rotate as well. And so I think that we don't get as much glute activation by actually rotating into the hip. Now we do this with a single kettlebell. Not only is she able to lean forward more and keep the weight on top of her foot, which keeps the loading on the front foot, but technically you're able to kind of rotate into the hip just slightly more and get more of that glute med action. So from the deficit, she's just doing a step back lunge. You really want to encourage people, if you watch the knee at the front, then you can tell whether she's staying on top of this front foot, or go ahead and do one where you take it too far back, or if that knee starts to dive back like that. That's what we don't want to see. As soon as you see somebody doing that, have them keep the foot pressure forward. When you're coaching this and demoing it, it's still that, okay, there's 80% of my weight's in the front foot, 20% is in the back foot. When we did this at this amount of reps, and this one's going to be 10 reps each leg, then 8 each leg, 5, 8, and 10, it's a lot. They need to move quickly, and they need to make sure that they don't overload too heavy, just thinking it's single leg work, I can just pound it out, because it made us feel like we were going to puke. That's going to be paired with decline sit-up. I totally forgot to set one of those up. I guess we can do it over here. Thank you, Matresa.
Can I just do it right here? Can you just there?
We'll be okay. So decline sit-up, what's the biggest thing? I should start asking you guys stuff. What's the biggest thing that we're looking for, Alex? Yeah, rounding the lower back. Lou, do you know why we're big on rounding the lower back on this?
A banana.
Yeah. Why? Why are we so crazy about it? Yeah, so like if you do what you just did, if she does that and then she leans back, what muscles is she using? Not her core, right? She just put her abs in a stretched out position. So technically she could maybe iso hold there, but what's the mover then? Hip flexors, right? I mean, that's the thing that's going to close this down, move it back and forth, but where do the hip flexors insert? In your lower back. And so, me? Okay. They insert into your lower back. And so that's what happens, like when people have a lot of lower back problems because they sit all the time and stuff, here's what happens. They sit, those hip flexors are getting in a shortened position. Then when you stand up, they yank your lower back into lumbar extension, and then you like hurt and you walk like this all the time, right? We've seen older people walk like that. Yeah, cute. And so the biggest danger is that it's not even necessarily when they're going back, but when they try to come back up and they're shortening, it can yank on that lower back and hurt them. And we have had people hurt themselves doing that before. So we're always thinking rib cage tucked in. Yep. Hands are always overhead. She'll have a plate in her hands when she's doing this. But if you think that the plate always stays overhead, so she's projecting it overhead and she's coming back down at the same time, that's usually the safest position. So, no, what about them? Oh, yes. So when she goes down, we should never see her arch back. So, yeah, that. So if she just touches the bottom tips of her shoulder blades is a good cue. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades and goes right back up. It's a tap and go. and that's going to keep them in a safe position. If they're really having trouble or they say that their lower back hurts, pop this up, because if somebody already has shortened hip flexors, that's attached to the quads. We're putting the quad in a stretch here. If they're taking it too much, they might just feel like their lower back hurts. We don't want them to feel safe doing it, so we just pop it up, and they're totally fine to do it that way. The other version that you can do is you can actually put them on the floor with their feet hooked under the rollers there, and they can do it that way, just a regular floor sit-up with a plate. Any questions on that? This was killer. Our hips were really sore from this. They were like, the inside of our hips were like achy. Bad news bears. Okay, pyramid B, alternating overhead press. I can have somebody demo that, and then somebody pop up and get ready for lateral raises as well. The alternating overhead press, this was a lot of reps. Now we tested this with face pulls, and we just didn't feel like it hit the shoulders as well as we were hoping. Now my upper back was nice and sore from it, which was nice, but I'd rather this be more of a deltoid exercise. You got this? It's a lot of reps, but it's totally doable. It's the whole goal with like doing this many reps on things too is to like, why do we love high rep work for like shoulder health? Can anybody say? I know. Go ahead and do your demos, and then I'll ask that question. Go ahead. So what he's looking to do is we're getting that turtle shell position, right? Like we talked about. And if you guys want to know about shoulder health, you should watch the last coach's education that we did that we put on YouTube. You notice that he's pressing up, he's rotating, he's trying to get this good shoulder upward rotation when he's doing this. We don't want to necessarily have them pull their shoulder blades back and then just try to press up. We are rounded out and we're taking it through a nice full range of motion. We want to see that. You can put them down if you want to. We want to see that elbow be like a rocket booster, right? That elbow is below the wrist. It's rocket boosting up, and then it's going to flare out at some point to get natural shoulder rotation. And so in the past, I think we've cued people to be too far in. That was my fault. I'm the one that told the coaches to say this, to be too close in the entire time. And then what happens is people get up here and they can't actually rotate and open in the shoulder, and then we have impingement issues, right? And some people can do it. Like our hypermobile females, they can do this all day. But for most people, a natural amount of flare out and rotation is normal. Does that make sense? Do we feel good about that? Biggest thing though is like when he's doing this, that rib cage has to stay down, right? When you're talking to people about how good to feel in an overhead press, they should feel connected to the ground. So he should feel like as he's pressing up, he's actually pressing through his feet. If there is any type of arching that's going to happen because they get tired or the weights are too heavy, it needs to happen from, go ahead and do this too. Maybe you guys want to stand up and do this. But if I just lean back and I arch through my lower back, I can feel my lower back. If I squeeze my glutes really hard and then I lean back, I'm hanging out my glutes. I'm not hanging out my lower back. That's how people lean back in an overhead press and stay safe. And so if you are going to have somebody lean back, you have them squeeze their butt, tuck it under really hard, hold that squeeze, and then you can lean back safely. Make sense? Cool. So that's a lot of reps, but back to the question that I was asking, why is a lot of reps on shoulders really good for people's shoulder health? There's a couple reasons, but shout out any of your ideas. What's up? Yeah, range of motion. So like obviously range of motion is going to be decreased at heavier weights, and most people don't have full shoulder range of motion anyways. And so allowing us to go a little bit lighter weight with higher reps is going to allow them to really hone that range of motion. And then the second thing is just blood flow. There's so many tendons and ligaments. There's just so much going on in the shoulder. It's such a complex joint that the more blood flow we can get in there, the more practice we can get at going through all these rotations, the better the tendon and ligament health is, so that when we go to heavy weights, it can handle it and we don't get a bunch of tendonitis in the shoulders and we don't get stuff happening in the neck. You good? Yeah. Okay. That's going to be paired with our lateral raises. So lateral raises very simple, but I think there's still like you can go. Let's go ahead and go straighter arms with them this time. I know in the past we've kind of cued a little bit more bent elbow. I think a bent elbow is fine, but we always want to think leading with the elbow. So even the way Matrice is doing this, I'd rather her tilt to the inside just a little bit more and lead with the elbow. And that's going to predispose us to internally rotate at the shoulder and stay in the deltoid. Anytime that we start bringing the thumbs up, we're going to start pulling into the back. We're going to start pulling into the traps, right? So you want to think float out to the side and then pour that pitcher of water out at the top, right? So that's always the biggest cue. Pour that pitcher of water out the top. And once again, just like with the upright rows, if you can think lead with the elbow, you're going to stay in the shoulder. As soon as you start leading with the wrist, you're going to start pulling back into some of our rear delt and our traps.
We're doing that instead of face pulls.
We're doing that instead of face pulls. You cool with that? Yeah. So that one should be fun. That one should give them quite a shoulder burn with the combo there. Just keep them strict on the overhead press. All right. Day 3. What's my timing like? I feel like I'm going slow. What is it? 205. 205? We're doing good. Okay. Lateral lunge. Anybody want to pop up, show me a lateral lunge? Lateral lunge. So this is our Cossack squat and our assisted pull-up day. This is the highest reps of pull-ups I think we've ever done in a program. And when we tested this, I thought it was going to be like really dog shit, but it ended up being awesome. Go ahead and show me lateral lunge. They can do this body weight. I'm totally fine with that. I would even have you put your hand down like you have a kettlebell in here because that accentuates the hinge, right? Remember with the lateral lunge, the goal is that it's a hinge. It's almost more of a deadlift than it is a Cossack squat. Even though we're doing the Cossack squats, the reason we're doing this lateral lunge is I want them to start opening up the adductors and I want them to start loading in this upper hip, this glute med and min type of area, okay? So it's a blade foot. It's just like you're playing hockey. I didn't play ice hockey, but I would assume this is how you play it. But I'm coming in and I'm exploding out of that position, all right? They can weight it, but body weight's totally fine, especially if they struggle with range of motion. They should get range of motion first before they start loading things. There are very few exercises where the loading helps their range of motion, especially something dynamic like that. And then ring row. We just did this. I don't need you guys to show ring row. 30 reps on the ring row, okay? That's going to be something where they're going to kind of probably complain about it. 30 reps is a lot. Go ahead, show us some ring rows. No, that's a good point. You're new. Go ahead and show us some ring rows, Lou. Why don't you cue us on them too? It's a nice demo exercise for you.
What's going on? You wasn't expecting.
Yeah, this is going to be on the internet.
Yeah, I won't put it on the door. Whoa, hold on. Give me a second.
Equipment errors here. Ring row. Yep. Yeah, explain it to us.
Oh. How would I explain that? That's a great question.
That is a good question. You start coaching on your own next week.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, what I would do here is obviously we got ring rows here. The farther down we go, the harder it is. The taller we are, the easier it is. When doing this, we want to have fully extended arms. So if I was in my arm fully extended right here, we are trying to pull through and get our chest through those rings with full extension on the back, squeezing our shoulder blades together, bringing our chest all the way through the rings.
Awesome. That's good. What are people going to do that we don't like? Almost every row exercise is the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Start to get elevated in the neck, right? Especially for 30 reps, if people try to like gut it out, then like their first 10 reps might be fine. Their last 10 reps, they might be up in their neck. I was telling Lou this when we were training the other day. I love for like getting the shoulders away from ears, a quick tap on their shoulders and telling them to pull this away from their ear seems to be way more effective than just saying it. Okay. All right, Cossack squat. Who's got a good Cossack squat? I know Lou does. Alex does? I'm mic'd up right now, but thanks for wearing those shorts. All right, Cossack squat. All right, go ahead and load it up a little bit. So, all right, me and Stetler tested this. This workout was hard, but it was kind of fun. Like the Cossack squat, you got to try to get people hyped up and get them on board for this because I don't think it's everybody's favorite thing. We're going to talk at length about Cossack squat because I think we really want to get it right this program. So, looking at facing the toes out, some people are going to be totally fine with the foot face forward more, people who are more hypermobile. Some people, we need to get the toes faced out or otherwise they just can't open their hip properly. So go ahead and show us. Now remember, it's like a sliding glass door, right? There's a wall in front of him, there's a wall behind him, and he's trying to, and I want you to go up to the top of the V every single time and then go back down. Think of this as a single leg squat. He wants to feel his full foot in that squat. He's loading the knee, he's loading the quad, and we're thinking, can I squeeze my glutes, which means I'm going to start driving my knee to the outside. What we don't want to see on this is we don't want to see the knee diving in. Now, everybody's range of motion is going to be different, and you're going to be able to tell whether they should be going to that range of motion. Actually, this is probably a good example because I have less range of motion on my right side right now. If I go down into my left, my torso is super tall, my heel's on the ground, I'm a good range of motion, pretty much full depth there. If I go to this other side, then I'm going to be okay until I'm not, and then that's when my hips start shifting back. I start rounding out. This is no longer a great position for them. What I should do is I should come down to that point where I can keep it up tall, stop there, and then get out of the hole. That's how they're going to learn to control in that position. It doesn't help them to come in, dive down, and then come back out of it, all right? So super, super tall torso. And the reason we want to do this is that we're learning to open up the hip, and we want to teach the leg and the hip to operate as separate things, which they are. The other way that people need to do this, if they aren't loading it yet, if they have big time range of motion issues, is they can't handle their own body weight in these positions. So we need to take body weight off of them, right? So that's a single ring Cossack squat, and the same cues have to be given. You have to be strict with people on this. I do this with Ben right now, and what he does all the time, no matter how many times I cue him, is he just comes down like this, and he dips his, like if I let go of this and I would fall, then I'm doing it wrong, right? So I need to keep my chest up super tall, and I need to basically just give a little bit of weight into this, some stability, some trust. If I let go right now, I wouldn't fall over. And then I can pull myself up out of that position. But still super tall through the top of the head. And when people set up, I think the most common mistake that we have is that people will set up like this thinking this is wide. I have no space to open up my hips here, right? Like I can't do this. The knee's got to go way too far over the toe. I need to be wider than I think. And so play with people's stances, help them out on this. See this? I know the Cossack squat is not the most exciting thing. It is one of the best things we can do for people's hip health, knee health, ankle health. If you guys can get them to get excited about it and you guys can get excited about coaching and making people perfect at it, I think it's going to be an awesome part of this program. I will say that the combination of this with side-lying hip abductions, if somebody wants to pop up and do those real quick, it felt like I basically trained this whole girdle, and it was one of the best like glute pumps I'd ever had. I walked around, my hips felt better the next day than they had in a long time. Side-lying hip abduction, 15 reps each side. This did build up, even though it's a body weight exercise. We want to be pretty specific. So Alex clearly knows his good positions here. And so he's in a straight line, but it's very, very important. I'm just going to move you around a little bit. So when he's in this position, you see his toe is pointed towards the ground. We always have to have that, okay? As soon as we flare up, we're now going to train the TFL. There's two muscles, one on each side of the hip that kind of are trying to do the same thing, and they share the load based on if the hip is forward. This is very sensual. Forward or back, and whether the hip is internally rotated or externally rotated, okay? So if I'm externally rotated and I'm raising up, go ahead. All he's gonna feel is the front of his quad, and this is super tight on people who sit all day anyway, so we don't wanna continue to train that. Same thing, even if he turned his toe in and then his leg was in front of him and he raised up, you feel that same place? Yep. So if we can get him to pull back and have the toe in, which is kind of a hard position for people to get to, then he raises up, that's when he's gonna feel this top shelf of the glute. That's like the thing all the ladies want, right? It's the top shelf of the glute. Then he's gonna feel that going. And that's what you really wanna feel. So ask people all the time on this exercise, can you feel the top of your glute? One thing, just so you guys know this too, and I know I'm getting lengthy here. I can see that the faces are fading a little bit. Griswold's obviously asleep. One thing that you guys can do if you guys have personal training clients, or if you guys develop hip pathologies, which is going to happen at some point in your career, is if you do that same exercise. I don't have a free wall here. Can I move you, Lou? I was showing this to Abby Bauman the other day because she was having some hip issues, and it was clear that her upper glute was inactive compared to the TFL. If you want to do that same exercise, but all you do is give yourself a target to push into, and then you slide up and down like that. I'm not going to do that too much because I'm going to take the pain off. But if you do that in a sock at home and you push into the wall, all of a sudden you cannot miss. Like you are in that muscle no matter what. And all you need is something to push against. So it's just something good to know. Any questions on that?
I feel like I have one question about classes.
Yeah.
This week, I feel like I saw somebody that was coming through and like they're only maybe like here.
Yep.
And like, would we want them to really push to where like their knee opens up even more rather than just that 90 here? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, so it depends. Yeah, that's a good question. It depends because they can get range of motion from the ankle, which would mean more knee over toe, or they can get range of motion from basically length of the adductor, which would be like the separation of the femur from the hip. And so somebody could be in a nice vertical like knee position and getting full range of motion just because they're getting it from the hip, or somebody whose hip's a little bit more constrained to get full range of motion, they would need more knee over toe. Does it make sense? I think the cue on that still is always going to come back to what does the foot pressure feel like, because that's always going to tell the story. That make sense? Yep. So I think either one's fine. Actually, like just for peace of mind, I know Alex showed good Cossack squats. Can you guys all show me your Cossack squat real quick? Because that's the only thing that sucks is like if this is such a range of motion exercise that if we don't have it fully, and I know yours are good, Matresa, but you can show me anyways. There you go. That's really good, Lou. Nice. And then the other thing we didn't mention, but like Lou, once you get down, so go down, and then once you hit your last few inches, you can tilt your toe up and go into your heel on your other foot. Yep, and then boom, you suddenly get a few more degrees of range of motion, right? So you can cue the people who are really good at this to go ahead and do that. Go ahead. Awesome. Yeah. And then yours, like you're so long femored, Matresa, that you're always going to be a little bit more bent over, but it's clear that you're trying to keep the separation. And so some people aren't going to be as upright. Matresa is a good example of that. Taylor, you're a little bit more shorter femored. Look at that. That's good. That's super upright. Awesome. Go ahead and do a couple more real quick. I saw something there. Sorry. Well, now she has a leg length discrepancy, and so she's always doing things a little bit different side to side. Which side's more constrained for her? I personally think the right side looks more constrained. Her right. So yeah.
It doesn't look like she's getting very open on this side versus that, but I can't see the ankle.
Go ahead and come to the side. One more. Go slow. And what I want you to do is keep this out though. There you go. Ooh, that's hard to do, right? I just kept seeing the knee crash in. Go ahead. Well, go ahead. Yeah, you can do a couple more. We'll just really train you today. Excellent. Nice. Yeah, I think like all you need to practice is keeping that right knee out, and that'll probably even up pretty quickly. But you're always going to be dealing with like rotational issues at your hips because of your leg length discrepancy, you know? That's good. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's that. And then last but not least, assisted pull-ups and skull crushers. I freaking love this. What'd you think? I was shocked at how good this was. I was really nervous about going this many reps, but I'll tell you guys very transparently, like if you guys see things on Instagram and stuff, and you're like questioning whether or not they're like true or whether they work, just try them. And that's what we're doing here is like, I was listening to this physical therapist talking about shoulder range of motion and health. And he was talking about somebody who could do a decent amount of pull-ups, or they could do a decent amount of overhead press, or no, it was pull-ups, but they couldn't high pull worth crap. So there was clearly like a stabilizer muscle issue. And he said, well, one of the things you can do is you need to get more blood into the shoulder joint. Why are you always doing your pull-ups at body weight? Why are you always doing them at 5 reps and less, which is necessary for developing the strength to get good body weight pull-ups. But if we're talking shoulder health, why don't we band up and just pump a bunch of blood in there, try to keep it in the muscles without relying on the joints and the ligaments too much. And so that's what we're doing here. So make them band up heavy. And when we did this appropriately, me and Stet, man, did I feel this in my lats way better than when we do our strength work. It was just so high rep. I was able to clear my chest every single time. Go ahead and do a few reps here. We're still always starting from the shoulders. This good chest to the bar cue is always awesome. Pointing the elbows forward, getting that hook grip hand over the top. He's got that good hook grip hand. And squeezing with the lats is going to be huge. The thing that we want to avoid always is people who start the movement not from the shoulders, but from the elbows. That's when we develop the most problems. That's the people who complain about their elbow pain, the people who complain about being in their neck. As soon as they start the motion, if they pull with their elbows first, and then they're trying to get through, then they start doing their pull-ups like this, as opposed to being able to clear through and get the shoulder blades back. Make sense? Cool. So I think we should be ready, because we have cued for so many years for people to go heavier on their pull-ups to challenge their bodies. We should be ready to tell them the exact opposite of what we've always told them. Tell them to band up heavier. Tell them to like try to make it through in one set, to try to pump a bunch of blood to the muscles. That being said, when people get down to 5 reps, like me and Stetler, when we did this, we banded up pretty heavily for the 15 and the 10. Then we got to 5 and body weight felt really good, but I can see a version where you're still needing to coach some people to weight up for the 5 repper to make sure they get that good mechanical tension on there. Make sense? And then skull crushers. You want to show us those? So we're doing these on the floor again. I wanted to put them on the benches, but we needed the benches for something else. I guess we don't need them, but it's just a lot of crap out then if we do that. So with the skull crushers, I still think the floor is a good target to get to. Now, there's a couple things that we haven't talked about. I don't know how much you guys try to do this when you're doing your skull crushers, but trying to keep the elbows in and pointed forward is huge. Now you're going to get some elbow flare out, like trying to keep them crazy in and loading them heavy is just going to make your elbow hurt. So there's some flare out is totally fine, but I think it's really helpful too to kind of set yourself up like a bench press. So if you roll your shoulders down and back, you try to get those flat against the ground, and then you get really tight and you actually like preload your forearms, you get a nice tight grip, and then you press out, you're just going to be able to go heavier. It's just going to feel better. Whereas if we go in loosey-goosey without cueing them on actually setting up like a bench press, I think they're just going to feel like there's so much variation between the shoulders, the elbows, and the wrists that they can never get into the same spot twice. When I lock it all in, that's when I feel like I can finally isolate into just pressing elbow, 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 elbow. The other thing I really like is go ahead and go into this top position. I love to have their starting position be over here. So we're already pre-stretched to the tricep, and now stay here. And if I blocked you, then go ahead and go all the way down to the ground, then get out of there. Boom. So it's almost like he's pushing it over his forehead as his ending position, not necessarily over his chest. Cool? Any questions? That's another one where 10 reps is going to have to be pushed to go heavy enough. Yeah, good question, Lou. Hand position, same thing. We want to be right here. This is going to feel much nicer on the elbows, okay? Then going inside. I mean, inside will feel totally fine, but it's just going to be so close grip that we're just going to keep them wide for a while still while we're getting used to these. Cool beans? Awesome. Yeah, that was such a nice arm pump because you're getting a decent amount of bicep work with pull-ups, and then you're getting the triceps and skull crushers. What time do I have right now? 2:20. Okay, so let's blast through our, do you guys have any questions on the Cleopatra program itself? Pretty straightforward. It's going to be simple. Like there'll be a lot of time for coaching because it's going to be simple to set up. We're doing 2 big things. That's it. If we have enough time at the end, what we're going to do is I'm going to throw like 3-minute abs in and just run it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I think people will like that because they always ask for that. And that'll just be on a flow, and you guys just take them through it. Okay, dynamic strength. Second page here. Tuesday. So in the last 2 years, we've always ran a program called Squat Fest, which is our version of Squat-tober. Now we're coming up on October. I didn't want to do Squat Fest again. I don't think it's ever worked as well as we'd hoped it did. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do like an homage, whatever the word is, to Squat Fest on the Tuesday, Thursdays. And so instead of drilling snatch, now we're going to drill a bunch of squats. And so we're going to take them through eccentrics. We're going to take them through pause squats. We're going to take them through speed squats. Tuesday will all be about drilling. And so that's going to be a lot of you guys cueing them to keep their feet in the floor, to make sure we're going through good positions. Let's go ahead and all pop up and just talk through kind of the generalities of the squat. And then just kind of learning how to grease the squat movement to make it feel good, because everybody's different. So let's talk about a couple different things with the squat. And I'm sorry if I take you guys over. I can always send out more information on this stuff. What about foot position? When we talk about foot position in a squat, what matters?
Utilizing your whole foot.
Utilizing your whole foot. Perfect. So that tripod foot that we talk about, or like the simplified version, is feeling even pressure between your heel and the ball of your foot. What about how much toe out we need?
Slightly strong, so at least the knees can follow, so the knees aren't kicking in.
Cool. Anybody have any different opinions on that? It's important to remember that there's like 9 different hip morphologies that dictate what your toe out position is. And so some people need to have more toe out to comfortably squat. And that's always what we want to go back to. What's a comfortable squat? Because you can see somebody squat and it could technically be the perfect way you said, and it just like looks like shit and looks like it's really hard for them to do. Whereas if they suddenly toe out, they can drop down into a nice even squat. It's like there's no reason why they shouldn't be doing that, because we just want to get heavy load on them so they can grow muscle, right? We're not in Olympic lifting. There's no like super specifics on it. And so you might have people play with it. If it looks uncomfortable for them, they're trying to keep their toes pointed forward, have them toe out a little bit. Or if they're toed out excessively because they saw somebody else do it and just looks weird and funky for them, have them toe in a little bit, right? So always coaching from the ground up. So the first thing, like Matresa said, we're always looking at that foot pressure. Encourage people during these squat drills to get rid of especially these nice cushy shoes so they can feel those toes in the ground. And then from this position, once we have our feet rooted into the ground, where's our first cueing as far as what we want to move first from here? Yep. Karate chop, basically, right? It's just a slight karate chop, but we always want to think, can I get into my butt first? Can I get into my posterior chain? Even if it's just a slight tip, okay? One slight tip like that, and then from there, now I can feel the foot pressure and go ahead and go into a nice deep squat from there. But the thing that I always hate is when I see people come in and they're just used to kind of hanging out in the front of their hips like this, and then they try to squat like this. And some people, I mean, Brent was one of the ones that he could squat crazy heavy, full range of motion like that, but I was just waiting for his kneecap to shoot across and shatter a TV. It's just like, it was gonna happen. And when you see people like that, if they can't get into their heels, they can't get into their posterior chain, you just gotta work with them. It took him weeks, if not months, of us cueing him before he finally got into better positions. And I guess we'll see where he's at now, but just keep working with him on that. So go ahead and like just show me your, like go do the most comfortable squat that you guys have. Excellent, nice, nice, good. See, and like you guys, can you show this across the board?
Just go down one by one.
Yeah, go ahead. So Lou, go ahead. Everybody look at Lou's real quick. All right, look at how narrow his stance is. Look at how upright his torso is at first. Alex, go ahead. Alex likes it a little bit wider. His toes are a little bit more pointed forward. Matresa likes it a little bit more toed out. She definitely has a wider stance than either of them did. Taylor likes to be a little bit more narrow with a little bit more aggressive toe point out. All 4 of you guys have different squats. But all those are fine. What's up?
I think that's good for people to learn on. He's a butt winker.
Oh yeah, so if you turn and go ahead and show the butt wink, or like don't show the butt wink. Show your squat. You guys know what butt wink is?
Yeah. Well.
You guys?
Oh yeah. I used to.
Yes. So all butt wink usually is like you're running out of range of motion at some point. Usually it's knee over toe. So it's more common if we had all you guys bring into a narrow toe pointed forward stance, like you're gonna butt wink more. It's not necessarily super like bad for you, especially if he was just doing air squats and he butt winks, like it's totally fine. But if he's getting his heaviest weights, now go really slow into that. Now we can go ahead and watch for when it's gonna start tucking under. Right about there, maybe that's the full range of motion for him. And that's totally fine, because technically if you look at Lou, go ahead and go into your squat again. Look at how long this is compared to this. Yeah. He's long femored. And long femur doesn't mean somebody's tall necessarily. It's just well.
He's not talking about me, obviously.
Oh, he's not like
Because he's 6'3".
Yeah, as I'm down here. But just keep an eye on that. And so yes, if you see a butt wink, especially in our heavier stuff, it's not that you tell them that like, oh, you can't squat like that or you have to change their position, but you can tell them, hey, this is your bottom level. And maybe some people are just not made to squat ass to grass, right? And so
That's a good like learning lesson.
So when we're doing eccentrics, when we're doing pause squat, all these things, what we really want to do is get people to feel comfortable in their hips. So nothing should feel constrained when they're doing it and feel like they're so rooted on top of their feet that everything feels good. And if you're coaching on those elements, it's going to be good. We're also going to cover a ton of squat stuff in coach's education for the next 4 weeks. All right, I'm going to go through this fast because I know I'm taking us over time. So we're going to see all that stuff. We'll have different variations. So they'll drill on Tuesday. On Thursday, they'll do a squat challenge, which means I'm just going to pair like some type of movement. In this first week, if you go to the third page, I believe I have them doing squat thrusts paired with push-ups. Very simple, but they're going to put it into like a dynamic action. They're going to go 4 times, so they're going to try to rush through it. And that squat thrust is just going to be a little bit more dynamic than them doing like an eccentric squat like they're doing on Tuesday. So Tuesday's for practice, Thursday for performance, if you can keep that mentality. Tuesdays for practice, Thursdays for performance. Yep. And that's definitely the way to talk to them about it too. Okay, so let's look at what we're doing in each of these days. If you go to that last page, we're going to test out a new format for the Tuesday, and that's going to be an E2 mom. This is my version of trying to make the wave format work without making it a wave format. Okay, so basically what that means is when people go through this, I want them to hit both exercises in a row. I might switch this up a little bit, but I want them to hit both exercises in a row and then take whatever rest time they have. So there's still a strategy to it. It's just like the EMOM we did, but it's going to be every 2 minutes on the minute, meaning that the timer will ding. There'll be 2 minutes on the clock. I need to hit my double kettlebell suitcase box squat for 15 reps, encourage them to go heavy on that, and then I'm going to go hit lateral hurdle hops by 30 seconds. Based on these, like they should have anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute of rest. If they're going heavy and they're going hard, they may need a full minute rest. So don't be scared if they have a minute to stand around because it's going to accumulate on them over time. And if you guys have coached the wave format, you see that. Everybody looks like they're fresh in the beginning, but then by the end of it, they need that full minute, minute and a half of rest. And so the way that you're going to have to do this is we'll have it set up so there's enough of everything out here. And so that means that we're going to need 3 of everything set up, and so you're going to have to encourage people to get in more triples than they are in pairs. Make sense though? I'll send out some more stuff on this before next week, and if you're coaching that first Tuesday, make sure you touch base with me on that day, because all these reps, just like the EMOM, are suggested. If for some reason the reps are just not enough or they're way too much, feel free to adjust them as the morning person, okay? Which I guess is not you guys, but it's more Matresa and Bruno. On Thursday, like I said, squat challenge to start. That's going to be cardio. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. It's going to be a chance for them to test themselves. Then we're going to go into 10 exercises, 2 zones. The zones are going to be split between upper and lower, so please explain that to them. And they're going to be doing a lot of single leg and single arm movement. We've been having people ask for more of the balanced single arm, single leg, so I'm going to sneak it into the Thursdays. And so it's going to be 25 seconds of work, quick 10-second transition to get to their other arm or leg, and then 25 seconds. If you need to go, you can go. Adios. Thank you. So you guys can see a good example of this is just like they're going to do all upper body. I'll put a lot of abs in here to break up so they don't just totally peter out on their work. But strict press, bench row, yoga push-up. Then they're doing a couple ab exercises. Then they'll go back into it. They'll do 2 laps in the zone, and pretty straightforward. Thoughts? There's other cueings in here for you guys, but I don't want to take you too long. I want to respect your time. So what questions do you guys have about anything that we've talked about?
Well, just the eccentric squat for the
Yeah.
is that weighted?
Yes, it's definitely still weighted, and so you'll see I have it written on the third page as a 4x5 at 40XO. This is where you guys definitely want to count out loud for them. So this will be the first one on this coming Tuesday. So you'll just do it as a whole group. I mean, you could break it up, you go, I go, if you think the bells are a problem, but you know, you count them on their way down. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, explode.
We've done that.
Yeah, so the weights are going to be lighter than their maximums. Definitely not going to be what they could do for a 5-repper. It's probably going to be more what they could do for a 10-repper.
It's more for a 10-repper, you said?
Yeah, I would say that's a good target to give them, and then you just see how much they're suffering. And just like feel free, anytime that you're trying to like slow them down, you can give them cues of where to feel things. It's like, I might want to try to feel my glutes stretch out. I might want to feel my hamstrings contract as I go down. All those things. Beautiful. Any other questions, guys? I think this will be a fun program once we get into it. It's a lot of new stuff. Obviously, now that I'm kind of back in the saddle programming, we're doing a lot more experimentation. Just know that like I'm not intentionally trying to confuse the members or you guys. I'm just testing things out. So if something's not working, tell me. If you think something should be changed, tell me. If you're like, this sucks, tell me. And if it's awesome, tell me that too. But cool. That's all she wrote. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you. Awesome. That's all she wrote. Knuckles.